Good evening, everyone. My name is Luke Armour. I am an alcoholic. Nice to see you. One more day trudging, and we've got it good today, don't we, folks? It's just a pleasure and a joy to see you. Stephen, I can't thank you enough for the privilege of coming here tonight to the Serenity Improvement Group and sharing the message, treating the disease, meeting up with all of you, and just great. And while we're at it, how about congratulations on 39 years this past Friday, wasn't it?
Thank
Good
you.
for you. Good start. And there's another, I recognize any number of people here. This is not surprising. My buddy Joey S. over here and from Northern Ohio just celebrated 48 years yesterday. How about you, Joey? Thanks be to God. This is one great sober gentleman over there. Pat and Loretta and Greg, Darren and Tim, and that's just a pleasure to see you all. Sober today, grateful, amazed, sobriety above the horizon as a real piece of business. And this old boy is loving it, thanking God from the bottom of my socks for the daily reprieve, the chance to be a sober member of Alcoholics Anonymous, and to be here with you. It just gets gooder and gooder, and I can hardly keep a pace with all the great stuff that goes on and on and on. So I'll tell you, just to summarize, I guess, I drank like a pig, got struck sober, and things are a lot better. Would that be enough for the short version of it, I guess? Should probably say a little more, but that is the story in a nutshell. But carrying on here as if I knew what was going on, and it's great. God does the work. I asked his help before I came on here tonight. I shouldn't be allowed to leave my room without adult supervision, let alone carry the message to distinguished group like yourselves, and it's good, you know. I have a home group. It's just down the road here in a place called Culvertown, Kentucky. It's not even actually a town. It's just a wide spot in the road. We meet on Monday nights there at Immaculate Conception Church, and we have a great time there. I get there early, stay till the last shot is fired. Active member of my home group, and just love being there Monday nights in Culvertown. That is when quarantining and COVID and so on allow me to be there. Typically we have 15 to 20 people. We go around the room with a topic from the big book or the AA literature, and we beat that drum and we send ourselves right up into conscious contact and renewal of spirit and mind and body, and ready for more sober living. So that's my Monday night deal, apart from another AA commitment, of course. I never miss the home group, my AA base camp, where I'm rooted, responsible, committed, and just loving it right there with all that gang. I have a sponsor, and his name is Richard H. He lives up in Bardstown in the county seat here in Nelson County, Kentucky. I speak with him often, several times a week. When COVID's not raging, I see him at meetings all the time. I had the same sponsor for 27 years. His name was Fabian R. And when Fabe got sick 4 or 5 years ago, somebody asked me, what was I going to do? And I said I hadn't the faintest idea what I was going to do, hadn't even given it a thought. So that night before I went to sleep, I asked God who my new sponsor was going to be. And you won't be surprised to learn it took about 15 seconds before God told me Richard was going to be my sponsor. The day Fabe died, I asked Richard if he would be so kind and be willing to help me out on that journey. And so didn't go one single day without sponsorship. It's just that important to me, that connection, that conversation, that accountability that I see as vital in sobriety, and not only vital, just life-giving and energizing, and something I don't want to be without. So I sponsor some guys too, talked to a bunch of them today. One guy gave me hell in a handbasket. Another guy asked me to take him through the steps again. A third fellow is just right there in my pocket. What can I tell you? Another day with the folks, and it's great. It's good. My sobriety date, by the grace of God, a lot of dumb Irish luck and actions taken in the program of Alcoholics Anonymous, November 11th, 1989. A date as important as anything that has ever happened to me in my life thus far. And I say that with a sense of wonder and awe and gratitude to God, to all of you who have gifted me, have helped me along the way with this. I stumbled in here crazy, disoriented, burned, wounded, torn to pieces, and the grace of God put me right in the middle of the boat, the rescue squad with you all, and have been rocketing with you ever since. So I'm here truly amazed by what has been the daily, day at a time miracle and reprieve that has been going on for me now for a number of 24s. And I'm here to tell you about it as best as I can, and with a sense of, gee, I wouldn't have missed this for anything. Alcoholism is probably about the best thing that ever happened to me. And you might think, gee, if that's the best thing that ever happened to this dude, it couldn't be much going on with him. But much the contrary is true. My life has just been blessed from start to finish, from day one till right now. And but that gift of sobriety is the one that is really juicing it up these days. So it's how God got me, of course. It's how he found me with a lack of power and down for the count, and knew that I couldn't go on another moment, another day without his grace, without his help, without all of you to minister to me and to get this going and to get this boy working up and going at it again. So that is my story. In a sense, I am going on with a sense of tremendous mystery of how it all has unfolded, how I am totally in the right movie, how God has been leading me right along throughout all of it. And I could just shout for joy. In fact, I do it often. Yay! And nobody's going to send me home for that. And so there you have it. I am 71 years old. I was born in New York City in 1950. You do the math. And born in Manhattan, raised in the Bronx. My 4 grandparents are off the boat from a place called Ireland. You may have heard of it. And they say I do the best Irish brogue outside of Hollywood, which I don't think is actually a compliment. But I come by this naturally and have this sense of great satisfaction in being a Hibernian character. It certainly gave me a leap into the rooms. One of my great Irish buddies, Paul McHugh, up there in Rockaway, New York, where I spent many wonderful days growing up. He told me with that kind of heritage, you might as well have been moved from the delivery room into the A&A room and just gotten right to it from the start. And that makes sense to me, of course. So Irish by birth and Scotch by absorption, and I belong right here with you all, I'm sure. The Irish, I can never really fathom the wonder of being Irish, and I speak to people in Ireland in the program and just friends who are family and acquaintances and so on, and they tell me about the gra, the GRA, that something, that depth and that spirit in the Irish soul that is yearning, that has a thirst and a hunger, and I know that is my psychic story as well. It is my driving force. For as long as I've had consciousness, the gra has eaten me up, has impelled me, has given me all the energy, which I think you could pick up on. I'm a high-wired guy and loving that as even more so as being sober. But the gra, the yearning for what? For the infinite, for the face of God, for finding my little story, inserting it somehow into the great, great story of God's care for the world, his saving the world. I wanted a place in that story for as long as I've had thoughts. And I'm here to report tonight from a sense of gratitude that's beyond expression. I got to live my dream. I got to find a place in the great story. I got to find a place in church. I have been a Catholic clergyman for over 51 years. It's all I ever wanted to do. And alcoholism, not to the contrary, which could have easily self-detonated, blown me out of the waters any number of times. God spared me, allowed me to come through all of that and still live the dream. And this old boy just has his socks knocked off on a daily basis with the wonder of all of that. It could have been a very, very different story along the way, as you might well indeed imagine. So by the time I have memories, not so much of the Bronx, River Edge, New Jersey is the story, just across the George Washington Bridge, in a nice old Yankee town, 9 doors away from St. Peter the Impossible School and Church. And we moved there just in time for me to get started there. You might know I am a lifelong Catholic and grew up in that Eastern corridor, 1950s and so on. We might say cocooned in a Catholic culture. Scarcely had anything to do with anybody outside of that package, and that was fine with me. We had a pretty neat time of it, I suppose. Had a fairly clear idea of what was expected, what I needed to do, what I needed not to do, and that was very helpful to me. I jumped right into it and loved it. I've always loved it. In school, I did well, and mainly because most everything came easily to me. Someone helped me understand this later on, that I did well academically. I did reasonably well socially because that was just in my nature, I guess. What didn't come easily to me, I just kind of skated by or bluffed my way past and faked it, as we say. So that was my story. Had lots of friends, was a class leader, class president several times, and I just loved being there at St. Peter's School. Had a chance to grow and learn and do things. I will have to say, though, in my heart of hearts, and where I could never really speak much of it, though, I felt very awkward, like I had been dropped off on this planet, splat, by some alien spaceship or what have you, and that it was my job to, who knows what, figure this out, or are they coming back for me? Do I just kind of skate around, as we say, and do what I do and figure out sometime why I have all these questions when it seems like for everybody else, life is just a stroll through the park, and here I am. But I learned early on, or intuited somehow, wrongly I suppose, that I can't talk about this. I just have to keep the Luke Armour mask on firmly and do what I do and fake it as I go along. I can't express any of these questions or doubts. The family was wonderful. Neither of my parents were alcoholic. My sainted mother is buried right here outside in our yard, and she said to the most we could ever do with you was get out of your way, and I reckon that's true. A sense of forward motion and impetus that there was just no stopping me. I have a wonderful, older, accomplished brother who lives out west, who was always good to me. I could never catch up to him. I don't know that that was a real problem, but I kind of felt it, that he was always more evolved and cooler and suaver and so on than I ever was. I have an adorable little sister who's 4 years younger, and just here to tell you, and again, good shout for joy, she's coming up on 11 years sober in Alcoholics Anonymous, and we talk all the time and share the journey and the wonder and the joy of being sober. I never said a word about her drinking. She knew what I was doing. Her husband gave me some, a few updates here and there, but we just let it ride for as long as I never interfered with her reaching her bottom, and that has just worked out so beautifully, so well. We talk and we celebrate and we compare notes on the journey, and we are just having a blast together. My little sister Mary, she's in suburban Maryland, and it's just a wonderful little light to everyone who knows her. So I go stumbling through, and I do well in just virtually every path there is, because I never had an off button. I'm just zooming right along before we even knew about this deal, and so be it. I go back into New York for high school. I won a scholarship to a fancy Jesuit high school that my dad had also attended, so I went on in, and it was nice. It was prestigious, I guess. It was also fear-provoking. Who knew that I was living from more than 100 forms of fear, of failure, of faking it. Here I am with this scholarship and academia when I just am skating along. I'm not really academic. I just take what comes and fumble around with it and do the best I can. So you can imagine my great, great delight when Dad asked me after the first year if it would be okay with me if we moved out of there. And I said, yes, let's go. So we had some other adventures, and short story, end up in Knoxville, Tennessee. How about that? So I know the Tri-City area, Stephen. I've been up to Johnson City a number of times and so on. I know that. And we just love Knoxville. Tell you a quick story about what life in Tennessee was like. The first day we moved in, and just barely after the truck pulled away, our neighbor across the street was knocking on our door, inviting Dad and Mom to meet the other neighbors. And we stayed in touch and friendly with that woman till the day she died. We never had friends like that outside of Tennessee, and just loved every minute of it. Had, as grace of sobriety, the opportunity to go to my 50th Bearden High School reunion 4 years ago, and to thank those great people for giving me the love and the encouragement to burst into life that they gave to me. And it was like dress rehearsal for heaven to see them again. And I got to kiss some girls that I never got to kiss in high school. I was all right too. Yeah. So I'm keeping myself for a life in the church, and I am not messing with anything or anybody. I certainly was not too good to be true. My little sister could tell you what a royal nuisance I could be at the drop of a hat. And of course, I have lots of loose ends and anger and shadow self and so on. But anything like messing with anybody or anything, I am clear on. In my high school, again, I was a class leader. There was this marginal crowd who would get together on Friday nights and drink beer, and God only knows. It didn't call to me at all. It was not on my radar to even think ill of it. It just didn't speak to me in the least. So there you go. I graduate Bearden High in '68, and I am ready to blast into my real life, my full career. And I go back to the Northeast, to Providence College, the capital of Rhode Island, and I sign up with a beautiful order of preachers. The Dominican fathers and brothers took me into their fold. In fact, I was very impressed when a Dominican father came to our home in Knoxville to interview me. I signed on with them, and I figure my life is set and ready to ignite. So far, so good. Providence College, I do what I always do. I make the dean's list without even trying. I make a whole new list of friends, and well, here we go again. Same old, same old. But a little something happened in January 1969 that helped get me here to the Serenity Improvement Group tonight, and here's what it was. I was sick as a dog in January 1969 with what they're telling me now had to have been Hong Kong flu. Who knew? Crazy with fever there in my dorm room, out of my ever-loving head with fever and bewilderment and so on. It was awful. Someone sees this distress and, as an act of kindness and care, hands me a cold, tall drink of alcohol. First significant experience with any of that. So what do I know? I take that baby, I toss that back, that stuff goes down, that tightness eases, that warmth spreads out for the very first time. I was amazed before I was halfway through. It was a hyper euphoric, bogus spiritual experience. I was shot out of here to a place, everything and everybody went away. It was full of blue stars like heaven. And I thought, if this is what happens when you drink alcohol, I'm in. Why didn't anybody ever tell? I should have known that's what they were doing in Knoxville, and nobody ever, but now I'm on it. And that, of course, is the trick that alcohol played on me, because that never happened again. I thought I have a solution when, of course, it dropped softly on me. but tightened like a noose and took me to places I never dreamed of for the next 20 years. But of course, initially, it seemed like fun. I was a college kid. It seemed like I hate to use this word because it's so loaded. It seemed like my entitlement as a young adult to kick back, of course. But meantime, the disease of alcoholism is firing up in me, and my whole value system is doing an enormous flip-flop. How, when, and where to get it again was all I ever cared about. Now, at this point, a slight miscalculation, hardly worth mentioning, but I wrote to a friend of mine back there in Knoxville. Her name is Karen. We're still friends today, and she loves being part of the narrative. Told her about this new romance, because that, of course, is what it was. She completely misunderstood. Got it all wrong, missed the point entirely, and sent me a membership card to Alcoholics Anonymous. And I kept it. This is a copy, but I must have known it was going to come in real handy, which it certainly has. So I still have the original upstairs, and I'm mighty proud of this. Karen, thank you again for giving me a little hint of what was about to come. It took a while, of course. I never made the dean's list again. People are wondering. I'm ending up in hospital emergency rooms, completely cloaked, thought it was my solution while it is blinding me. And when they say cunning, they knew what the heck they were talking about. Well, I'm still faking it, of course, just like I do today, I suppose. And I was still able to work the process, I guess, and the Dominicans received me into their order in 1970 outside of Boston, Massachusetts. Nobody said alcoholic. I certainly didn't. I had no idea when you get right down to it, just having the college experience. So I receive a beautiful white robe, and I should tell you, my goals were realistic and achievable. I wanted to be a saint in my own lifetime, or the Pope, or both, or whatever happened first, you know. And now I have the white robe, so at least I'm there. And quick parentheses, I should tell you, I did have the honor of meeting the Pope sometime later in 1987. And I took that opportunity to say to him, JP, baby, now that I have your full attention, there are some things you need to tell me about the job. And he said, ex-brother Luke, I hope you have a good career in plumbing. Well, actually, I didn't say that, but I thought of saying it to him. So the Dominicans, and here's what's happening. I'm alcoholic, and I'm thinking that now I'm a student for the priesthood. I'm teaching catechism classes, and I'm going to choir, and I'm singing praises, and I'm learning about religious life, vows, and so on. But I'm also drinking by night and partying when I could. And incredibly, Dominicans are pretty smart guys. They noticed this. So that in the summer of 1971, they confront me in what was very much something like intervention. They gathered me in the superior's office, and I don't know if you noticed, but I am a smooth, smart, fast-talking New Yorker, and I got past that, even though they really had the goods on me and could have nailed me in a heartbeat. Well, I just drink to steady my nerves. They said, yeah, but you're so steady, you can hardly move. And it was true. Somehow, I was almost drummed out, but they didn't send me home. What they did was delay my profession of vows. They sent me on to Catholic University of America with a big cloud of questions over my head. What do I know? What do I know? Now I'm in the nation's capital. Pretty impressive. We step outside our door. There's the biggest Catholic church in the Western Hemisphere, this world-class university. And right over here, the Catholic University of America Rathskeller, which feels like a good time to take a glass of water. Now I don't even have to get in the car, just have to go over here. Hardly have to tell you, Catholic University of America, a lost experience, just a missed opportunity completely. Now I'm 22 years old, alcoholic, still have no idea, just having fun. But I know on some level I am dying and my life is falling apart. This was not the plan. What to do, what to do. I didn't know about geographical cures, or as one of them A friend of mine in Louisville calls it a geological cure, but I pulled one off with my alcoholic cleverness that I'm immensely pleased with, and here's what it was. The writings of Thomas Merton, monk at the Abbey of Gethsemane, the oldest abbey in America, here in central Kentucky, drew me to the heart of the bluegrass in May 1972. The first minute I saw this place, I was enthralled, and I thought, sign me up, I'm in for this. No more fiddling around with that kindergarten crowd back in Washington, D.C. and so on. I'm moving up here to the Marine Corps of the church, taking a step forward in the organization. And now, to the extent that this ever so slightly resembles a flight from alcoholism, I cheerfully acknowledge that today. But I am here to report that I have been a Trappist monk at the Abbey of Gethsemane for the last 49 years. This surprises me. This pleases me very much, because I told you my sobriety date, it is not the beginning of 1973. I have a ways to go. Here comes that story. I show up here. I do what I always do. I jump in with enthusiasm and gung-ho and let's get this job done. And I didn't do badly for a while. I heard these monks singing, and I've got song in me, and I knew I would find a place here. In fact, quick parentheses, I have been the choir master here for 18 years, and it's a sober song now, which of course makes a bit of difference. Oh, and I should tell you, I'm speaking from the music room, the site of my office, and many bootleg A&A meetings where the guys have been coming for many years now. So the song has taken root and has blossomed. But initially, I'm trying it out. I'm a junior monk and doing the best I can with it. But you know, it's funny. I start taking inventory, of course, because I'm untreated alcoholic, and there are a lot of people here who aren't doing it right. Ha! So you can imagine how well that went. I'm marching around, and it was not fun, actually. And I'm burning bridges. I'm having trouble with personal relationships, and I'm clearly building up to drink. 1981 rolls along. I'm still faking it, and I guess enough cards on the table to get by. I was final professed by then, and Father Timothy, the abbot, a great person in my life, I'll mention him again in a minute, asked me to take care of sick brothers, and now I have all these great responsibilities, a sense of being someone, I guess, in the community. And so there I am in the infirmary, back of the house, a modern wing. And now I can be on the road at will, taking sick brothers to doctors. Before that, there were years that I never left the property, years that I never made a phone call. I was a monk, for crying out loud. But now I am ready to rock. And I am ready to drink, because it's been building up for 8 years, when I didn't abuse alcohol, would take a drink on Christmas or whatever. But now it is ready to bust. And so I use those trips. There were other ways. There was altar wine and so on. And so from 81 to 89, very much as the big book describes, the actor leading a double life, intensely stressful and painful. All right, I'm glad that's over. What should we say? It was periodic, but the real thing, absolutely. And I am sneaking around here by night, full-blown alcoholic, and by day trying to do praise, work, study, and so on as monk. And holding all that together was virtually impossible. And it was awful. Let me just summarize those years by saying I was struck with terror, bewilderment, frustration, despair, loneliness, chaos, and all of that, eating my lunch on a daily basis. No solution except alcohol, and that leading to difficulties, to conflicts, to any number of horrific, for me, consequences that I had to cover up with more drinking and so on, in a never-ending downward spiral. By the grace of God, completely unexpected, Armistice Day, 1989, I sneak out of here around 1 o'clock. I had Had a little drink in the mornings. Some friends of mine had left some Harvey's Bristol Cream. What do I know about the phenomenon of craving? I sneak up to Culvertown. So the place where I bought my last booze is right next to where the home group is now, which is a great little synchronicity that pleases me very, very much. I had 2 beers on the way back. I stash it in a locked room in the guest house, in a refrigerator in a locked room at 1:30. I come back at 2:30 in the afternoon. I go into the locked room. I go forward to the refrigerator. I open that refrigerator. And by the grace of God and whatever his plan for me was, I saw the light at the back of the fridge because that baby was empty. Yep. Anybody ever else lose their secret stash? It's a revolting development. Tim, we knew you would. That there was no stopping you. So, as God is my witness, thought number 1, the game is over. And thank the Lord, that has been the story to this day. I turned myself in. Abbot Timothy, the aforementioned, had seen me coming in with the 6-packs in a big sack, and he had, of course, as abbot, he had keys, and he grabbed the stuff and was just going to wait and see what happened. Well, I turned myself in, and he was a great, great pastor, and his name ain't Kelly for nothing. We Irish understand each other. We stood together. He said to me, what do you want to do? And I said, I feel like I've been so much trouble for you. He said, you have not, but let's get going together on getting your life back on track. So I was never shamed or beaten up for being alcoholic. The community gave me 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 1,000 new chances to get it together. And I try to return those chances to everyone I meet today. Went to a clergy rehab for eval. The great good news about that was they sent me home after just a week and said, if you drink again, you'll be back here for 4 to 6 months. Get to Alcoholics Anonymous, do 90 meetings in 90 days. So I like to say I've stayed sober for spite because they haven't seen me back at that place. It was called St. Luke's Institute. And please God, they never will see me back there. It'd be nice to carry the message, whatever, but that's the only way I'm going back. I hop into Alcoholics Anonymous with a sense of relief that that was the easier, softer way rather than getting pigeonholed into this clergy rehab. I did not want that. So what do I find? I'm going to do the 90 and 90, but I have a plan. If you're new and you have a plan, we know it's a beauty. And mine was too. The plan was, of course, to do what you do and kind of hunker in and do the 90 and 90 and then thanks for the memories, but I don't want what you have. And I'll pray for you here back at the Abbey, but sayonara, you know. And that, of course, is precisely what did not happen. This 90 and 90 is a hook. It's a ruse. It's a great plan for this alcoholic to see I was right where I belonged. You are the people I've been looking for my whole life long, and I'm with you and have stuck with you ever since. I got 2 beautiful interweavings today. I've got the life of the monk and the life of the sober guy on duty, and they are so closely interwoven, there's no distinguishing the two. I love these new chapters of my life. Would have never signed up for them, but here to thank God from the bottom of my heart and carry the message that I'm in the right movie. He got it right, and I'm here as a sober guy with this 1 day's reprieve from active alcoholism, not only to thank him from the bottom of my socks, but to give back the little that I can on a daily basis to show God in some meager way that he struck the right guy sober and that I took the gift of sobriety, seriously and joyfully and with Rule 62 in mind, never to take anything about myself too seriously, but to just keep letting it loose and keeping it green, keeping it amazing, keeping it fresh. And so that's what I've been doing, folks. Very enthused about the life in sobriety. I never let a day go by without expressing it right from the very beginning. So here's what I do. I follow the clear-cut directions in 164 pages. Funny, A guy I sponsor in Florida asked me the other day, you recommend any reading? I said, yeah, 164. That's basically all I do. And he laughed and he knew what I meant. I can never get enough of the instructions. It's funny, I used to say my window, I have about a 72-hour shelf life of what I hear in Alcoholics Anonymous. Well, friends, I have to honestly revise that. My shelf life at 71 is about 5 or 10 minutes. I need heck of a lot of reminders. And so I do the work. I keep the big book right here on my desk. I read it every day. I also have it in my place in the refectory. I have it at the easy chair in my room upstairs. And so I'm always in the book. And for that, I thank God and all of you for the encouragement. It's just about sheer desperation because the forgetfulness could nail me. I do not have this made. I am living on the one day at a time reprieve, daily reprieve requiring daily maintenance. And I have this sense, and I love this actually, friends, that, okay, I've been with you for a number of 24s, but I am not sitting on a cash or a bank account of sobriety. It really is for me this one day. Oh, I guess, there's a certain amount of experience, strength. That's nice, and I love it. But I'm just here to report that spirit goes away from me. I go to sleep at night, and I wake up empty, needy, disoriented. So what do? I grab the spiritual toolkit upon awakening. I ask God to direct my thinking. I renew the wonder of the powerlessness, the unmanageability, how I need to come to believe, how I need to turn it over to God. And it's all like brand new every day. Why is that? Because God is still working on me and I have nothing in stone. I don't have many certainties. And I love that. It's all new and wonderful and gift and joyous and free for me to explore. So I grab the spiritual toolkit, sober guy on duty, stomping out, and world look out, because he's going to do his best again today to pack it into the stream of life and to show what? Okay, great. The old guy is not drinking. That's super duper. But so what? I have spiritual toolkit of 12 steps and a field full of cheerleaders, sponsorship, and sponsees, and all of you to keep me on message. And what is the message? I have to claim the power. I have to find the center, the spirit, the gravity, the presence, the God who has been with me, nurturing me, loving me every day of my life, and now how much more so in the miracle of the daily reprieve of sobriety. So I go to center. Center is my word. Life on the fringes feels like alcoholism or something unworthy of this one day's reprieve. So my journey is to the center, to find that love, to find the wonder, and to live from it, to express it in practicing principles, as we say, in living sober, to whom and for whom everyone I meet. This one day's reprieve, that clock over there is ticking. The evening of life is here. The book tells me not to, encourage me rather, not to squander the hours that might have been worthwhile. And folks, I take that to heart with all of the fervor that I can possibly muster. I do not want to waste a minute of the miracle. I want to be God's guy, rooted in the love, giving back in the service while I have breath in my body, so that when I meet my Maker, Lord, I had only the big empty, but I tried by your grace and by your encouragement and by your light to claim the love. I never made much of a deal of it, but you helped me along the way every day. I did my very best. It wasn't much. I really come to you without anything, with empty hands, with a grateful heart, and asking you, please, again, for the gift of mercy and grace. And the thing is, he's been showing off all this time in sobriety. For me, the journey from here to the great, great day, the final day, is all about assurance and trust and knowing that God has got this. Oh, sure, there are rough spots. There's disconnect. There's a mental fog. I get into a trance of fears and uh, occasional ruffles, kerfuffles with personal relations. Of course, nothing of the duration and intensity that was before. But here to report, sober, joyous, and free. That is my ticket. That is my MO for today. That is what my membership in Alcoholics Anonymous means to me in essence. Not the final word, friends, but enough chatter from this old guy for one night. I send the Spirit's love to each and every one of you from the heart of Kentucky and from my poor heart for living sober and being present here tonight. I ask you to pass it on, to carry that message. I thank you for my life, Stephen, and everyone. Please, God, let's keep doing what we're doing. Let's hang together as family and community of spirit and love, and let's re-meet up frequently to keep the gift going. Thanks from Kentucky. Enough from this old boy.